Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mayor Ford.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bullock.
Here.
Councilmember Amador.
Present.
Councilmember Teeter.
Here.
Councilmember Carson.
Present.
Councilmember Diaz.
Here.
Councilmember McEldowney. Here. Councilmember Elliott.
Present.
Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, and for the record, everybody made it to work tonight. That's good to see. We've been doing that pretty regularly now, so it makes it easy on us to have everybody here. First item, I want to ask everybody to please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And in your moment of silence, you might keep in your thoughts our former city manager, Jerry Flannery, lost his wife to breast cancer last week, and many of you may have known him. You might keep their family in your prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to go ahead and ask the audience to introduce themselves. We'll have the microphone passed around.
I'm Lindy Schultz with Community Reach Center.
Clint Nichols, Commerce City Police Department.
Kirk Dominic, Commerce City Police Department.
DJ Thompson, Commerce City Police Department.
Liz Finn, Commerce City Police Department.
Sergio Castillo, Commerce City Police Department.
Harold Chapman, Commerce City Police Department.
Brian Govey, Commerce City Police Department.
Fernando Rodriguez, Commerce City Police Department.
John Brachetta, Commerce City Police Department. David Coleman, Commerce City Police Department.
Tom Boscovich, Commerce City Police Department.
Mike Pasco, Commerce City Police Department.
Dan McCoy, Commerce City Police Department.
Jeremy Jenkins, Commerce City Police Department.
Brad Keetle, Commerce City Police Department.
Rob Renfro, Commerce City Police Department.
Kathy Blakeman, Human Resources.
Matt Rippey, Commerce City Police Department.
Ken Evans with the Police Department.
Dennis Moon, Police Department.
Ashley Flack, Commerce City Police Department.
Rick Anderson, Police Department.
John Walkinshaw, Police Department.
Krista Gawley, Commerce City PD.
I truly hope everybody in the audience feels safe tonight.
Justin Bingham, Information Technology.
Good evening, Michelle Fertig Hill, Economic Development.
Paul Fishman with Whiskey Bell Coffee.
Will Constregra, Economic Development Division.
Susan Carvajal, KitKat.
Daniela Villarreal, Community Liaison.
Ed Hansen, President of the Commerce City Cultural Council.
Michael Scanlon, Commerce City Chamber of Commerce.
Well, I guess we got all of our areas covered tonight. Thank you all for being here. And I don't know what the rest of the city's doing for safety, but I feel really good tonight. Thank you all for being here. It's great to see a lot of the officers in the audience tonight. And for good reason, because we're going to start off our agenda with proclamations and recognition. And the first proclamation that we're going to have, and I'm going to do our proclamations a little bit differently than I normally do tonight, because we have 4. I'm going to go ahead and ask the attorney to read through those 4 proclamations one at a time for us to consider one at a time. And then once those proclamations are approved or denied or whatever is going to happen with this council, which I'm assuming is approved, then we will ask those who are here for that particular proclamation to come up and speak individually on each one at the time we approve them. But then afterwards, we're going to come down one shot for the council to come down, and we'll take pictures with everybody with each proclamation, because otherwise there's 20 minutes of back and forth, and it'll make it easier on everybody in the audience and us as well. So a little bit different, change of pace. I didn't want to scare the council when I changed it up without their knowledge. So we're going to start off with the proclamation on Peace Officers Memorial Day, and I would ask the city attorney to please read that proclamation.
Whereas Congress and the President of the United States designated May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15 falls as National Police Week, and whereas the Commerce City Police Department plays an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our city, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the Commerce City community with trust, respect, excellence, leadership, and restraint. And whereas the men and women of the Commerce City Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service as they strive to be the standard of excellence for public safety and service in this region. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council hereby proclaims the week of May 14 to 20, 2017, as National Police Week to commemorate past and present law enforcement officers who have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and established an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Be it further resolved that Commerce City observes May 15, 2017, as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of those who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion? Mr. McEldowney.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to approve the proclamation proclaiming Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Teeter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation as read. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. I'd like to ask Chief Nichols to come up, say a few words if he will. And while he's on his way up, I just want to thank all of the members of law enforcement nationwide, but especially the law enforcement officers of Commerce City. And I would also like to go on to say, I know it hasn't been that easy over the years. We have felt some challenges ourselves, as well as we know you are feeling challenges. I know this council would love to see the 12-hour work week go away. We know we have to hire more people. We are continually battling the economic vitality of our state and the need for police officers in all jurisdictions across our community and our region. So it makes it tough. But we want you all to have the best working environment that we can provide you as well. And I'm very hopeful and very supportive of Chief Nichols on being able to continue carrying our department forward. And I think and am very excited about the outcome of the Department of Justice being there, not to show that anything's going wrong, but to show what we're needing to do better. So I think it'll be beneficial to everybody. And I don't get to see you all, at least a mass of you all at one time. And I just want you to all know we're very thankful of what you provide to our community. We're very thankful that you're here and you're Commerce City employees. And we have the utmost respect for every single one of you. And we want you to continue to do your job. We want you to do it and enjoy doing it. And we want to do our job better as well. So thank you to every officer in the room for what you do for our community. Chief Nichols.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. The I'd like to accept the proclamation on behalf of the men and women of the Commerce City Police Department. And as you mentioned, we do have some struggles and some challenges, but I can tell you as an organization, we look forward to those challenges and we view them as opportunities to increase our responsiveness to the community of Commerce City and to one day have the residents and the citizens of Commerce City look at their police department as the gold standard of policing in this metro area. So on behalf of the men and women behind me and those that are in the streets doing their duties, thank you.
Thank you very much. And please, bear with us. We are going to have all of you come up to take a picture in just a few moments. But you're right, Chief. We have the best police department in the metro area, whether people recognize that or not yet. They're just getting ready to find out what we've already known. So thank you all. All righty. Next proclamation. I'd like to invite forward Senior Economic Development Specialist Will Consegra. Come on up. If you will, City Attorney, please read the proclamation on the U.S. Small Business Administration promoting and recognizing National Small Business Week.
Whereas the City of Commerce City joins the U.S. Small Business Administration in promoting and recognizing National Small Business Week during April 30 to May 6, 2017, and whereas from storefront shops to high-tech startups, small businesses are the backbone of the city's economy, and whereas Commerce City has over 1,300 businesses and over 80% of them have less than 20 employees, and whereas America's 28 million small businesses create nearly 2 out of 3 jobs in the country, and whereas the city achieves City Council's goal to develop a balanced and vibrant economy to improve socioeconomic status, and small businesses are a crucial mechanism for socioeconomic advancement, and whereas the City of Commerce City supports and joins in this national effort to help America's small businesses do what they do best, grow their business, create jobs, and ensure that our communities remain as vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Commerce City honors National Small Business Week and all the city's small businesses for their entrepreneurial spirit that keep the city, state, and national economy growing stronger.
Thank you. Proclamation's been read. Mr. McEldowney, do you have a motion?
I would move to approve the proclamation declaring
April 30th to May 6th.
Thank you. The slide here at my computer was still showing the prior item. Move to approve the proclamation as read.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
I second that.
A motion and a second to make April 30th to May 6th the National Small Business Week. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Will, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. I'm here on behalf of our fearless leader, Michelle Claymore, who unfortunately is feeling under the weather. So I wanted to thank you for approving this proclamation. As the city attorney just said, April 30th through May 6th is the United States way to recognize small businesses and the way that these small businesses have an impact on our local communities. 70% of the jobs created over the last 6 years were by small businesses in the United States. As the city attorney mentioned, it ranges from everything from high-tech startups to storefront shops. And specifically here in Commerce City, 80% of the businesses, of the approximately 1,300 businesses in the city, are small businesses. And I'm happy that over the 2 years that I've been here, most of you, all of you, have been to a ribbon cutting, an event, something with the small businesses in Commerce City, which we really want to reach out to and tell them how much we appreciate them for their service and their help in making this a strong community. With us tonight to help accept this proclamation on behalf of the city's small businesses is Whiskey Barrel Coffee owner and founder Tal Fishman. Whiskey Barrel Coffee is a small batch coffee roaster that ages its coffee beans in bourbon barrels for unique flavor. They've received a lot of local and international recognition for their unique product, which is a result of years of research and dedication to a distinctive product that's made right here in Commerce City. They do everything from having researched what type of Brazilian beans to use, to what type of European roaster, to the process to get this product made just right. They've been getting a lot of acclaim nationally and internationally. They may make the things here, but they actually sell them all over the world. So that's really exciting. They've been here since 2011, and like a lot of the small businesses here in Commerce City, they are growing, and they expect to grow within the rest of the year. So we're excited about that. So we'd like to thank Whiskey Barrel Coffee for being here tonight, as well as the City Council for helping us recognize National Small Business Week through this proclamation. So thank you.
I'd like to add a few words, and it's for the police department. If you're in the neighborhood, the coffee's on me. Stop by, and you're welcome in our places.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I think now the next thing was we were going to take a picture, or is that after you're done with the 4 proclamations?
That'll be after.
Okay, great.
But we're getting close.
Okay.
I just want to say congratulations to Whiskey Barrel Coffee.
Thank you, sir.
And I know that will be setting up a tour soon, so we can come down and see what you do and sample that coffee, make sure our officers are getting the best of the best. But we're glad you're in our community, and we're glad that things are going well. And yes, our small businesses deserve to be honored at least that 1 week of the year.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. McEldowney.
Thank you for being here to represent Commerce City small businesses tonight. To hear that you guys have been here from 2011 is frustrating because, like so many of the small businesses that operate in our community, we don't have an easy way to know that they exist in our community. And that's something that I know all of my counterparts up here would love to find ways to know of our small businesses so that we can help advocate for and draw attention to you. You represent 2 of my favorite things. So to find them in one product is pretty cool. Obviously, the slow brew and cold brew coffee scene is growing quickly, and to have such a unique niche is a really prideful thing. And so I'm sure there are a million ways to see that we could see you taking root in our community and really helping to promote you. But there are so many others that, as we've come upon them, and a lot of it through the great work of our economic development team helping us discover those gems within our community. It's great to have you here, and you're welcome anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. And what Mr. McEldowney meant was his 2 favorite things are coffee and barrels. I didn't want that to be misconceived. All right, now on to National Economic Development Week. Let me see. Michelle Hill, please. If you will, come forward. I'll have the city attorney read the proclamation. Go right ahead.
Whereas the City of Commerce City joins the International Economic Development Council in promoting and recognizing Economic Development Week during May 8 to 13, 2017, and whereas the purpose of economic development is to positively influence economic change in a community, and whereas economic development promotes economic well-being and quality of life through programs and services that assist in the creation, retention, and expansion of primary jobs, and whereas a primary job is one that produces goods and services in excess of what can be consumed in the local marketplace, which generates new wealth, and whereas economic development programs stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism in order to establish the next generation of new businesses, and whereas the city's economic development program helps achieve City Council's goal to develop a balanced and vibrant economy to improve socioeconomic status, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Commerce City honors Economic Development Week and all the city's economic development partners for their spirit of teamwork that keeps the city, state, and national economy growing stronger.
Thank you. Mr. McEldowney.
I would move to approve the proclamation recognizing Economic Development Week.
Okay. Mr. Teeter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation as read. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Michelle, you have the floor. It's not on. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm also before you on behalf of Michelle Claymore, the Economic Development Director, and as Will indicated, she's unfortunately under the weather tonight. And I'm here to announce National Economic Development Week, which is May 8th through the 13th. The purpose of the designated week is to increase awareness of economic development in communities across the country. Economic development, by definition, is a program, group of policies, or set of activities that positively influence economic change in a community by or through wealth generation, economic diversification, job growth and preservation, and/or building the local tax base. In Commerce City, we focus most of our economic development efforts on attracting primary employers for job growth and new investment. Primary employers are the companies that produce goods and services sold outside of the local community, bringing new money into our economy. To accomplish this, we work in part through partnerships and collaboration and a vast network of economic development partners. Some of these include the Adams County Economic Development, Metro Denver Economic Development Council, the Economic Development Council of Colorado, the State of Colorado's Office of Economic Development and International Trade, International Economic Development Council, and a number of other great organizations that work to support the businesses here in Commerce City. In 2016, the Economic Development Division proudly announced new projects in Commerce City that will create and/or retain 418 jobs and generate $68.6 million in new capital investment into our community. Two of those projects were the McLean Food Service distribution facility of approximately 200,000 square feet off of 81st Avenue and Tower Road. The other is more than 234,000 square feet facility for Insull Steel going into the Irondale neighborhood and spurring significant new development there, including rail spur development, creating a new industrial rail spur business park in our community. We're very excited about these projects. So on behalf of myself and the other members of the economic development team, I'd like to thank you for your ongoing support of economic development and for recognizing National Economic Development Week through this proclamation. Thank you.
You guys do a great job. We do need more sit-down restaurants in our community. I'm not going to sit up here and pick on you. I could, but we do appreciate all the work you do. We are grateful. I could tell you after seeing the nation's county that's the most unaffordable about a month ago in the Denver Post, made me realize we need some more affordable housing and better paying jobs in Adams County. So focus on some of those things for us when it comes to higher paying jobs, and we'll get some of the other departments to focus on some affordable housing. But you're doing a great job, and we appreciate everything the Economic Development Department does. Thank you. All right. Mental Health Month proclamation will be next. The city attorney, please read that proclamation.
Whereas Mental Health Month has been observed since 1949 to raise awareness of mental health conditions and the importance of mental health, and whereas everyone is affected by mental health, with 1 in 4 Coloradans experiencing mental health conditions or substance use disorders, or both, each year, and whereas half of all chronic mental illness begins by age 14 and 3/4 by age 24, and early detection and support for young people promotes better long-term health, and whereas Colorado communities are stronger and healthier with robust local mental health services from prevention and wellness through treatment and recovery, and whereas people with lived experience of mental illness and or substance use disorders get better, live in recovery, and provide invaluable knowledge of how to improve and transform systems of care, and whereas people in recovery sharing their stories lift the stigma against mental health conditions and substance use disorders, which opens pathways to peer support and a full continuum of mental health services, and whereas increased access to comprehensive mental health resources statewide will prevent the inappropriate use of jails to house Coloradans in mental health crisis, and whereas Colorado continues to increase access to mental health services that contribute to the promotion of a healthier state. Therefore, I, Sean Ford, Mayor of the City of Commerce City, Colorado, do hereby proclaim forever after May 2017 as Mental Health Month.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
Move to approve the proclamation for Mental Health Month.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter.
Second.
A motion is second to approve the proclamation as read. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now I'd like to ask Lindy Schultz to come forward. The podium is yours.
Thank you so much for recognizing the importance of raising awareness in the community about mental illness and encouraging people to take a compassionate attitude towards individuals living with mental illness, and to do everything that you do to increase ease of access to mental health services. So Community Reach Center is the mental health provider that serves the Adams County area. We have outpatient offices in Commerce City, Brighton, North Glen, Thornton, and Westminster. But the Commerce City location has always been special for a number of reasons. This was our first location that was opened in 1961, I believe. It has the distinction of being one of the very first community mental health centers to open in the entire country, that was funded by federal funds that were set aside to establish the community mental health system nationwide when psychiatric hospitals were closing, recognizing that the majority of people with mental illness don't belong in a psychiatric hospital. Integrated in their community is the best way to treat an individual with mental illness. The fact that the Commerce City Rotary Club has adopted a pretty robust mental health initiative over the last 2 years, and that initiative continues to grow, is a demonstration of Commerce City's commitment to this important issue. And finally, the Commerce City location here is also one of only 4 recipients in the state of Colorado for SIM grant funding that was set aside to create an integrated model where individuals can receive all of their primary care medical needs as well as get their mental health needs met, with the unique distinction that it's all one shared medical record. So all of the physicians and mental health professionals that are wrapping services around this one individual, they all have access to one medical record. So that's quite a distinction for Commerce City to be one of only 4 designees. So on behalf of Community Reach Center, we certainly appreciate your support.
And we thank you for everything you do for our community. We know that there's a need. We also know that our jails get filled up with people that don't necessarily need to be in jail. And Rotary has taken that up as an initiative. And with the president of Commerce City Rotary Club, Renee Bullock, sitting next to me, and me as a member, we're very proud of the efforts that Commerce City Rotary Club's making in the areas of mental health. And we're thankful for you as a partner. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, if council will please join me down front, I'd like to have the officers all come up first, and we'll take our picture and hand over this proclamation to the chief.
Yeah, you only have to put your jacket on one side. I tried to do that for a reason. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you already covered it? Oh, thank you. No, that's why I saw
Someone had some.
Well,
And where'd you get this? I think the wall was so kind of secret.
Yeah.
So, you know, going right in the red.
It was awesome that they were all here, though. I like that.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Moving on in our agenda, we come to the citizen communication portion of our meeting. I have a sign-up sheet. I know that this sign-up sheet was brought up before everybody got here. Nobody has signed up yet this evening. So I want to ask if there's anybody in the audience who came to take advantage of their 3 minutes to talk to the City Council tonight. If so, raise your hand and I'll make sure you get to come up for 3 minutes and tell us what your concerns or whatever your conversation may be about. Seeing no one, we're going to skip the citizen communication portion of the meeting tonight. We're going to move on into the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. They are presented to council for a single motion and vote. Any member of council may ask to remove a specific item for further discussion in a separate vote. Tonight there are 3 items listed under the consent agenda. Does anyone in the audience have, or does anyone on this council have any desire to remove any of those 3 items off of the consent agenda? Seeing none, I need a motion. Mr. McAdown.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Will the attorney please read the titles of the consent agenda?
Ordinance 2121, an ordinance amending Section 2-4202 of the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code regarding surplus, contraband, and unclaimed property. Ordinance Z 66097990003, parens 2-17, an ordinance approving the Mountain View Industrial Park PUD zone document, amendment number 5. Resolution 2017-43, resolution approving award of contract for recreation center addition and renovation pre-construction services.
Thank you very much. All right, I have a motion and a second. The consent agenda titles have all been read. I will ask for a roll call vote. For the record, the consent agenda has been approved unanimously by this City Council. Now we'll move into resolutions. We have one resolution this evening, Resolution 2017-40. I'd like to invite the Cultural Council President, Hanson, forward to make the presentation. The podium's yours.
Mr. Mayor, honored council members, thank you for this opportunity to represent the hard work and efforts of the Art Selection Committee and as approved by the Commerce City Cultural Council at our last regular meeting. What we're talking about will be our recommendations for the new public art at the new rec center at Second Creek. Clicker, yes. Okay. Ah. Okay, go for it. Does that mean the pointer doesn't work either? How does that work?
It is this red button on the top there.
That works good.
Just try not to blind it.
Yeah. This was put together by the Art Commission and under the guidance of Dina Miller. And this presentation is a distillation of her presentation, which you have all received copies of, which is pretty extensive. So some of the artwork that is in her presentation is pretty impressive. So if you have a chance, I would recommend looking at it. It's very good. The public art program stimulates economic growth, attracts businesses, residents, and visitors. It encourages walking and gathering. It enhances public appreciation of the arts and strengthens, and I think nourishes, community identity and pride. This is the budget for the art project. It was let's see. The 1% for art funding from the construction of the rec center is $339,000, and the surrounding area infrastructure $137,705. This is a total of $476,705 for public art, to include 10% for maintenance and administration, or a total of $47,670. Originally, the construction budget for the project was estimated lower than the actual cost. Therefore, the public art budget increased $157,127. Okay. The Art Selection Committee consists of 10 members. There were 4 committee meetings from July 2016 through January 2017. They identified site opportunities, of which they came up with 3. They set art and artist selection criteria, and they sent out calls for artist proposals and ended up with 73 applications total, which they spent a lot of effort winnowing down. The Cultural Council reviewed and approved the committee's recommendations on April 11th at our regular meeting. And Dina Miller, the public art consultant, facilitated the whole process. This is the plot plan for the new rec center. You can see on the north side, let's see. I can't see the... Okay, that works. On the north side, along Highway 2, is an outdoor display of, there will be 3 steel buffalo. And there is an example in the back model of what will be, what is proposed. Down in the roundabouts, there will be 2 larger outdoor art items that are quite striking and very impressive. And then inside the lobby, there are actually 2 installations recommended. One will be a ceiling-mounted kinetic structure, and then a wall-mounted interactive set of wheels that you will see here in a few minutes. Next. This is the view from the north. The wall there was proposed, but that's where the buffalo will be, or proposed to be, with trees selected by the grounds people who will be putting them in, with lights. Next slide. And this is the first site. This is the proposed sculpture. There will be 3 of these buffalo made of galvanized sheet metal and steel with, it'll be rusted steel, but it's a special steel called Corten steel that stands up to corrosion. They're about 20 feet long altogether and 6 feet wide. Quite impressive, 12 feet high, with permanent piers, heavy piers in the ground. Next slide. This is the proposed layout for the Buffalo along Highway 2. 3 Buffalo with appropriate lighting, with trees interspersed and bushes backing them up to provide a more interesting and hopefully more natural appearance to people driving by. This is the layout, the floor plan for the inside of the rec center. In the lower right corner will be where the ceiling-mounted kinetic sculpture will be set up. It will have a control. Let's see, is that indicated right there? Okay. And you'll see a picture of that in a moment. And then up here in the top left on the back wall will be some interactive wheels mounted on the wall. And we will also have a very nice picture of that coming up. This is the representation of the kinetic structure on the ceiling and the control device on the left there. It will enable people coming in to move and manipulate the structure, make it turn and sweep and all that. This was designed by John King, made from painted and powder-coated steel rod and tubing and aluminum sheet. It's 16 feet wide, 16 feet deep, and 12 feet in the air, sitting about 10 feet above the floor. That structure will go right where those ceiling lamps are. Those are kind of a placeholder in the picture to give you an indication of what it will, what the layout is. This is a picture of the artist's previous work. This is the interactive wheels that will be on the back wall. This particular installation, I believe, was in the Broomfield Health and Human Services building, if I remember right from Dina's presentation. And you can just move these by hand and spin them, and then we get to the roundabout structures. These are pretty impressive art installations. The concept is of a small child riding a big wheel scooter pulling a ship, and the ship has a set of clouds above it that will look like they're raining down on the ship. It will have they have proposed lighting that changes color to add more drama to the look. I understood from what Dina says that this can stand a 150 mile an hour wind. Another rendition of it from and how it's set into the ground. Right here, the tricycle is on the ground, and the tricycle and the hull of the ship are made of steel, welded steel, and will be allowed to rust for dramatic effect. But the lighting and the clouds above will be very impressive, I think. This is the second roundabout. Similar concept. A young boy on a big wheel pulling a ship, but the ship this time has a tree in it. And it is expected that this will be a live tree, and the tree will be selected by those who are doing the decisions on the groundscapes. Another view of that. Same structure again, steel hull on the ship, and welded steel on the trike and the cable. I would encourage you again to look at the graphics in Dina's presentation that you received. There are better renditions of these two pieces. They give you a better feel for the kind of impact they will have. Okay? That seems to be it.
Great.
Any questions?
Well, let me see. First, I'm going to go to the audience and see if there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on the resolution before we move any further. I see one back there waving her hand. Come on forward.
She has a stake in it. She was
I'm
on the
sure
Art
she
Selection
does.
Committee.
On the selection committee, and there are some pointers I want to point out on
Yeah,
this
sure.
that Ed did not know
Bless you.
about. The main reason we didn't put a wall up because we felt that we wanted it to be natural plains grass. So, and the reason that it's tall grass is because it's covering the maintenance where the trucks and the garbage and all that is. So that's why the buffalo are there. The council, a cultural council, had a couple of questions, and I don't know if they've been responded to yet, but one of the things that was talked about was what happens if the tree dies. It's a live tree. We don't know what kind of tree we're going to put in there. So, and where are the leaves going to go? Are they going to go inside the boat? And then, are we going to cover that boat for when snow comes down? And, there were some unanswered questions. So I wanted to let you know that we had looked at all that. So when you have questions about this, please ask, because we can always look at it and make some, we have to make some adjustments, because many minds have many questions. And I would, as vested as I am in this particular project, I would really appreciate council coming forth with any concerns or questions you might have. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to come forward and address the council on this resolution? Seeing none, thank you, Susan, and thank you for giving us the presentation. Does council have any questions regarding the new art displays for the rec center? Mr. Bullock.
No, I don't.
Mr. McEldowney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for the presentation tonight. It was really nice to look through the full background document and see other examples of these artists' works. I will just start by saying I think these are exceptional pieces. All of them I really find to be first-rate, beautiful pieces that will certainly make their mark and be great touchstones in our community. So I say that, but I have a but, one but. And that is with regard to the sighting of the buffalo, which I love. One of the things that we talked about during the council conversations around the rec center design related to the orientation of the entire rec center along the Highway 2 corridor. We have a very limited piece of frontage that we're able to leverage in terms of putting a face on Commerce City. And if we think about the role of art or the role of buildings, it's about placemaking. It's about space. And one of the things that I think I heard from this council with regard to the rec center was, how do we create a sense of place and character in Commerce City on this corridor, which will over time just continue to get more and more through traffic. And so how do we have very few faces that are truly Commerce City on traffic. So if we think about many places that people perceive to be Commerce City, they're not, right? Highway 85 is by and large unincorporated Adams County. On down the line, we don't control many of those things, but we do control this rec center. And so having something that says Commerce City in that very clear signage, that wall, is very important to me personally, and I will defer to others on council to speak to that. The grasses are beautiful, and I think in conjunction with the buffalo, the bison, they create a great image. The challenge, having lived in the Northern Range for going on 11 or 12 years now, is those grasses are seasonal. So what happens is they grow through the summer. They look fantastic. They're green. As the winter comes around, they die off. They're beautiful. And depending on when your landscape crew comes in to do the annual maintenance, they get lopped to the ground. And so if the role of these is to play any part in buffering that space, then they don't provide a function in that regard. And so I would suggest we think about how we potentially achieve something like we effectively agreed to in terms of the rec center design and the architectural renderings of that permanence, that sign that was a permanent buffer visually between the public going by and the rec center, and created a visual reference of what this is. When people are driving by, the ability to see the brand of Commerce City, understand that it's a rec center, to me is an important function. I think if there's a way to integrate these bison in that same space, perhaps it will work, because the lighting of a sign and the lighting of these bison can create a nice contrast. That I think would be important. But more importantly, as I look at the detailed renderings of these sculptures, these are the kinds of art pieces that, to me, people need to be able to get near. One of the key things about sculpture in general is it oftentimes looks cool in 2 dimensions and on a book or on paper. But when you can actually get up to and be near pieces of art of that caliber, it's a whole other experience, right? To see the movement and the life of a piece of inanimate material that's been touched by this artist, that's a very important thing. So I would just also then question, is that art being put in a place that we can actually have people be near it, right? Because if it's sitting to the backside of that building, the way that our current site plan is structured based on my mental map of the site, we don't have walking paths. We don't have pedestrian opportunities for people to interact with or be near them. And so I think they're a perfect selection for the site. So how do they best get plugged into that site and have an opportunity for people to see them, right? And I hate to say come to the other side of the building altogether, right? But the ability, when you think about places that you move into and you go buy a piece of sculpture, right? If that sculpture is there only as people are driving by at 50, 60 miles an hour or sitting at the stoplight, then what's the impact of that piece of art versus, and when you read the comments from the artist about what that piece of art depicts, what those bison represent, if every time somebody walks in and out of that rec center and they're walking past that cluster of bison, what is the message or what is the sort of trigger that they get in terms of walking into that rec center and being inspired to do all those things that the artist describes as being characteristics of the bison? So I'm just throwing that out there in terms of I would much rather see kids and visitors to that rec center be able to move by them, see them from all angles. It seems like it cheapens those pieces of art to be able to only see them at high speed and effectively treat them as a buffer to the maintenance area.
Of course. I cannot give you an answer to that.
I can.
Okay.
I can. Jason, the sign, a Commerce City Rec Center, or whatever the name of it's going to be, is going to be on the buildings, on that building facing Highway 2. So it will be identified. So it's not like it's going to be nothing.
Okay.
They're supposed to put something on those buildings that are facing. So they will be identified. Regarding the grass, I guess they were talking about pampas grass.
I have
and
it
I
in
don't
my
know
yard.
how
That's
pampas
what-
grass grows. I see it here. It's beautiful. So I'm thinking, they were talking about that as far as the buffer.
And understood. And I have it in my yard. I have it all along my side yard as part of my HOA open space and in
I
my
didn't
yard
know it
itself.
died.
Well, they actually do. And so
Do they?
were actually, in a decade or more ago, were used by landscape designers as a sustainable, low water use plant. And the problem is that's not really what they are. There is an ongoing life cycle cost, especially when planted in mass, because they have to be lopped down every year. And they actually, if they're not split and replanted and divided, they will die out from the center out. And so I'm just saying that they're not, if the purpose is to have a permanent organic visual barrier between the public moving by And that utility space, pampas grass is a seasonal only item. It will be effective once the grass grows. So for example, right now, they're starting to turn green. You can drive down South Lawn Parkway or Union Boulevard Parkway or otherwise to see real examples of this. So you have little green shoots that are about this big right now. And over the coming months, they will get to be 8, 9, 10 feet tall. As fall comes, they will be beautiful. Sunsetting, I mean, they're a fantastic visual piece. The problem is, into the winter and late winter, they get lopped off. So you have this extended period of time where they're not there, right? And you have the maintenance of lopping them off every year. So we don't have to solve it now. I'm giving some feedback. I'm fully prepared to approve these art pieces, but I think there's some additional conversation in terms of permanent visual barrier between those utility spaces, signage on a building versus signage on a sign. Those are items that I haven't been privy to in terms of conversation, so it's some design discussion that I think it warrants some additional conversation if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
That's
you
very
bet.
valuable to know.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, we're going to go to Mr. Amador.
First and foremost, I want to thank the committee for vetting this with all of the proposals that are there and the time that it took to get to where we are today. I'm not going to get too caught up in the weeds. I absolutely love the Buffalo theme that we have today. When I think about Buffalo Run, the golf course, when I think about tying in a new rec center with whatever the name may be, some buffalo that you have sculptures as you pass by, along with the Rocky Mountain Wildlife Refuge. Sometimes you'll drive by and you'll see buffalo hanging out throughout the city. So I think it's a good sprinkle to tie in the whole community of Commerce City. As far as signage is concerned, this rec center is massive when you drive by it. So I'm sure there can be some signage studies or whatever that may look like on the building, off the building. I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I think this is a great solution, a great piece of art, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for your work as the committee.
Thank you.
I only have one comment for Mr. Amador. Would you prefer that it was 3 rams instead of 3 buffalo?
Absolutely. Silence. Yes.
Just checking. All right, Mr. Douglas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the art committee and selection process. I know I'm on the Parks and Recs and the naming of the existing recreation center and the future recreation center. And I know that's not easy to do, to vet and figure out where these sculptures are going to go. I do like them on the side there. And I understand about Commerce City and how we were going to have the theme of that sign there with LED lights, and then with the change of seasons, we'll have different color LED lights on display there. So to have those just to the left of that sign would be nice to see, some the buffalo grazing out there as you continue to drive down Highway 2, get to the Arsenal. Maybe you get lucky and see some bisons there as well. But no, I appreciate selection and everything that's before. So I'm going to be voting for this. So I appreciate that.
All right, Councilwoman Carson.
Well, thanks to all of you for coming, and thanks for the presentation. Thanks to everyone who sat on that committee, that art selection committee. I know there was a lot of hours put in there. I know you came together on weekends, you hashed it out, and you really took a good look at this artwork. Mr. McEldowney, when I will say I've had much longer time to look at this and to really know in my mind what I think of it. These are substantial pieces that, in my opinion, when you drive down the highway, you're not going to miss these. In fact, I think they're going to be such a focal point, you won't realize there's a maintenance place behind them. I believe they're going to be a conversation starter, that everybody's going to say, did you see those bison? And so I think we will get a lot of conversation going as our new artwork and our brand new rec center. I think they're very fitting. I don't know another city I can drive through and get such enjoyment of seeing bison by Highway 2, and I live right here in the city. So I would like to be tagged as the city where the bison roam, whether it's at the Wildlife Refuge or down Highway 2. But yes, I was just enthralled with all the artwork that was selected for this recreation center. I think all of it is huge conversational starters. I am not an artist. Art is in the eye of the beholder, but I know one of the things behind art is to start conversation. You all have not selected a piece that won't start conversation.
Yes.
And so, no, I am very appreciative. I don't have any problem with thinking what should the landscape differences be. I was one that had some questions about the artwork in the roundabouts, only because I'm not an artist and I do have trouble seeing things as differently. And so they're showing me a picture with a live, beautiful tree, and I said, what does it look like in the winter when there's no leaves on that? Does it look like Charlie Brown is now driving the bicycle? And so just a few questions about that. But I fully understand your concerns, but that's where I see it as a perspective. But thank you to all of you, and thanks for being here.
I want to thank you all. Some extremely neat art pieces. I was fascinated with the kites that went over at Pioneer Park. This is even more intriguing to me. I had to give Councilman Amador a little bit of a hard time, being that he is a CU bison.
Oh, I see.
I couldn't help that.
He's a buff.
So I wanted to ask Mr. Amador, are these that are going to be outside the rec center? I know the ones on the Arsenal are bison. Are these going to be buffalo, or are they going to be bison?
I will always say buffalo, but I know they're bison.
Okay. I just wanted
Go
to
Buffs.
check. That's the way it is with me, too. I said buffalo in a meeting with the feds from the Wildlife Refuge, and I was quickly corrected. Those are bison. We don't have water buffalo here, and that's the only kind of buffalo there is. And I said, no, I grew up, that's the American buffalo. And I knew Mr. Amador has a passion for buffalo, and so I had to give him a hard time about the rams. But you picked the right animal for Mr. Amador. There's no doubt about that. But I actually saw the gentleman carrying them in earlier before the meeting, and really neat art pieces. Not just the buffalo, all of the art pieces. So I'm excited about what we're going to see at all these locations and how they're going to look. I would have to echo some of Mr. McEldowney's concerns about how that signage is how it's going to play a role. And one of the things he didn't touch on is we also know that Brighton has a zip code in that area, and we want to be sure it's right on our border that people, it took a long time for our residents to get these pieces that they fully deserve, that we want in our community. We want to make sure that no one misinterprets the fact that that is a Commerce City facility. So that is a point, especially because of where it's located, that we want to make sure people drive by and they don't go, oh, look, Brighton built a new rec center. We want to make sure that they're fully aware it's a Commerce City Rec Center, and I'm sure you'll find a way that all of this will be integrated and work perfectly. But great work by the selection committee. Appreciate all the Cultural Council members that are here tonight for being here, and thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
I want to thank the Art Selection Committee for their work. I am not a member of that committee myself, so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to represent their work to the City Council. And I want to thank the City Council for their indulgence.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Now, we have a resolution before us. I am open for a motion on 2017-40. Mr. Bullock.
Move to approve Resolution 2017-40.
Mr. McEldowney.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. Will the City Attorney please read the title?
Resolution 2017-40, resolution in support of public art installation for the new recreation center at Second Creek.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Thank you again to the Cultural Council and the Arts Committee that chose the artwork. Moving on in our agenda, we get into the presentation component of this meeting. And we're going to start with the capital program update. And I'd like to invite the KIPCAC chair, and we've already heard from her twice tonight, Susan Carbajal.
I know there's a slide presentation, and I don't know how it works, so. You got it? Okay. You got it, okay. Hello, my name is Susan Carbajal, and I'm co-chair of the Capital Improvement Program Citizen Advisory Committee, known as KITCAT. As a committee, it's our goal to advise the city and inform and engage the community in capital improvement projects. It's an exciting time on the program with the new recreation center structure taking shape and becoming vertical with the tilt wall raising and roof installation. I'm so thrilled that we're coming along with the design concepts for the renovation of the existing Commerce City Rec Center and add to the major construction progress on Tower Road and Highway 2, and it's obviously the city's been very busy indeed. As a representative of KIPCAT, I'd like to thank staff and council for your hard work. Commerce City continues to grow and improve, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I would now like to introduce the Director of Program Management, Scott Herrenberger. Herrenberger. I never say it right. Sorry. Oh, there you are, Scott. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. And again, on behalf of the City Management Team and my colleague Danielle Yearsley and our colleagues in Public Works, Maria is here tonight, as well as Carolyn Keith in the Parks and Recreation. This is the 13th time that we've had an opportunity to brief you in a quarterly update fashion. Out of the 5 years, that'll be 20 updates total. So we've got a lot of good things to share with you here this quarter. As a reminder to you all and to some of those who may be watching on television, this is all part of the 2K ballot measure that was passed back in November of 2013. It committed to 5 projects in 5 years. All 5 of those projects are moving well along, and a number of those are completed. We'll give you a quick snapshot of that tonight. As a reminder, the goals and objectives had to do with building high-quality facilities that were going to lower the long-term maintenance costs, spend the taxpayer dollars wisely and transparently, and complete the projects on time. So with that, okay. Did I skip a slide, Daniel? No, we're good. Okay. Oh. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the funding side of the equation. As you all recall, the Measure 2K increased the sales and use tax by 1%. And over time, the revenues have been coming in as expected and to some degree greater. So as you see from the graphic up here over time, the total revenue for the first 2 years was slightly over $10 million. And last year, unaudited, was a little bit over $12 million. And we're currently forecasting about that same, maybe a little bit under for 2017. We've incurred or received $1.29 million through February for the first 2 months of the year. The expenses that will be going out of this will pay for the debt payments, the bond and program management or the distributable administrative expenses, ongoing operations and maintenance costs, and any project costs not funded with bond proceeds. In terms of the schedule, you see here the different projects related to Measure 2K. Now, one of the 5 projects is actually the neighborhood park, so you see that there's actually 3 of those. Those are all completed, but those only counted as one of the 5 projects. Currently, we've got the Tower Road expansion slated for the end of 2017. The new Recreation Center infrastructure also slated for early 2018. May of 2018 is what we're actually looking for. Completed the pool, completed the parks, and as Susan just mentioned, the existing Recreation Center is on track for completion by the end of 2018. So the good news story is all projects completed within 5 years, as you all committed to the voters of Commerce City. If you look at this over time, this is a representation of progress or planned value, the total value of all of the projects in the program. And based on the dollars, 45% of the work in the program is completed to date. So we still have a heavy lift year ahead of us here in 2017, as well as 2018, as we complete the new Recreation Center and infrastructure, the Tower Road widening, as well as starting up the new Recreation Center. On the CIP front, there's several good news stories. You've all had a chance to, I believe, see the Highway 2 widening project that's currently under construction. The Chambers Roadside Multi-Use Path and Bridge is currently being under the acceptance phase, and the RTD North Metro station area improvements is currently under design. The Tower Road Pena Boulevard ramp is also under design. On the Parks and Rec and Golf side, we have two projects, the Northern Loop Trail, as well as the National Resource Damages project at Sand Creek, both under design. Highlights in Q1 of this year is the design contract for the Recreation Center additions and renovations was awarded, and that's now underway. You've had the opportunity to see the designer in 2 study sessions thus far. We issued the RFP for the CMGC services for the Recreation Center additions and improvements, and you all just passed that on consent this evening, so we're cheating ahead here into Q2. On the Recreation Center, the conceptual design of the Recreation Center has been completed and it's shaping up very nicely. On the construction side, you've all had a chance, I believe, at the end of March, the very last day of Q1, to go out and take a look at the new Recreation Center, and it is absolutely very, very impressive. One of the objectives that you all had was to create prominence from Highway 2. I think that objective has been more than achieved, so it's going up nicely, and there's more and more progress every day. You also had a chance to see Tower Road Segment 2 has now been open to traffic. That also occurred right at the very end of Q1, and so we're hoping that the impacts to the traveling public in that part of town are now lesser, and that's a good thing as we move forward with more work in Segments 1 on the south side and Segment 3 on the north side. On the CIP front, again, the design of 72nd Colorado was started. We did receive final comments on Tower Pena Ramp, and the categorical exclusion has actually been achieved here in Q2. So that's a spoiler alert for something we'll report out in Q2. On the construction side, we've talked about both Chambers Road and Highway 2. One is being completed and Highway 2 well underway. So as we look ahead here in Q2, the CMGC services, again, you just approved those here tonight, so thank you for your involvement and support on that aspect. We're going to continue the design of the Recreation Center. We'll be back in front of you all at a study session to provide more information about how that design is moving forward. And really, it's going to be the heavy lifting for the new Recreation Center construction and the Tower Road construction, and anyone is welcome to come see the continuing progress on those projects. Looking forward on the CIP side, Tower Pena Ramp will be 60% completed, so that'll enable us to get some good costing on that project, as well as continue the design of the metro station. And Highway 2 construction will also continue. So there are an awful lot of transactions underway right now. You've heard me say this before. It's a team sport. You all are part of the team. Thank you for your support and assistance with the projects. But all of the folks here at the city have really busted their behinds on this program and all of the individual projects. I think we're well into the hundreds of thousands of transactions that have been consummated, and you're going to see the fruits of those labor later this year and next year as well. So we will be back in front of you with update number 14. Actually, it'll be a little bit later this year because the first week of August was booked, but August 21st, we'll be back to you again. And I'd like to ask for any questions, and then we're going to bring Susan back up for one more time to show a video of the good progress that's been made on the new recreation center. But would like to entertain any questions you might have at this time.
Thanks, Scott. Mr. McElwain, did you have a question? No, it's from previous. I don't see any questions at this time. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to Susan's big hurrah with the
Okay, this
the
is
rest
a
of the
big
presentation.
hurrah. The
Big
new
hurrah.
recreation, the new recreation center is progressing really fast, very quickly. So rather than have you go out to the construction site and look at it and brave all the elements, we have put together a wonderful time-lapse video to show what's been happening in the last few months. So enjoy this.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Very exciting. I've been noticing every time I drive by, there's more roof on, there's always something else is getting done. Great presentation. We appreciate it. The next presentation is going to be 2017 first quarter work plan update by McBroom. Always good to hear from McBroom in a city council meeting.
Nobody's more excited than I am, Mayor Ford, to present our first quarter results. I'm actually going to lead off this quarter's presentation and then turn it over to Troy to do the bulk of it and take you through some of the details. But it's my pleasure to introduce this first quarter update. We'll just get it going here in a second. So this is our first quarter update. We were before you last time in February, and that was actually our fourth quarter update for 2016. So this is our first report of results in the execution of our 2017 work plan. We will be reviewing objectives by outcome area. So that's one of the key changes that we've made this year in the work plan is how it's organized. The entire work plan is available in your packet. It will also be available online shortly. So in order to get through it in an efficient manner, we kind of hit highlights. There's a tremendous amount of detail in the entire work plan, and that's the true complete reflection of all the work that's occurred during the first quarter. The second quarter update that will occur in August will actually look different. We have a demonstration to show you tonight of a new work plan management tool that we're looking to implement during the next quarter, and I think you'll be very excited to see it. So the version of the work plan that you'll see tonight will actually be the last time you'll see it in this fashion. But as we were looking back and reminiscing about the work plan, we kind of pulled out some older versions of the work plan to take us through a short walk through memory lane. We've only been adopting and executing a published administrative work plan since 2012. So this is a snapshot of the 2012 work plan. You might remember City Council had a retreat in January of that year. Most of you were still rather new council members at that point. And the work plan took the form that it had in kind of previous years. City council members came, had their list of things that were priorities to them. We simply took everybody's individual list and tried to figure out a way to get it done. There really wasn't an effort to decide on collective priorities on behalf of all city council. It was city council's individual list of concerns, and we did our best to try to execute them. At that time, there were 132 items. So at City Council's retreat in January of that year, you gave us a list of 132 things, and it was soup to nuts. There were some very broad policy issues. There were some very sort of in-the-weeds tactical issues, and everything across that spectrum. This is a snapshot of the 2013 work plan. We shifted to at least listing clearly in the work plan City Council's goals. So we were starting to relate the items in the work plan to City Council's broader goals. At that time, we were organizing the work plan in two broad categories. We had a set of work plan sheets that listed all the key projects that we were working on, and then separately, we were listing a number of operational things that we were tracking to see how we were doing. So in 2013, we had 63 projects and then two separate operations sheets. In 2014, this was the first year that we really began to organize the work plan around the priorities that City Council set at their winter retreat, and we started utilizing the retreat committee and the retreats themselves to kind of drill down on the priorities that City Council had laid out for us. We stopped focusing as much on departments, more on City Council goals and the consensus priorities that City Council had given to us. So in 2015, this is the year that we really shifted away from listing updates by department. So the emphasis is what we're doing and why we're doing it, less emphasis on who's doing it, although certainly for internal management purposes, it's important to know who's doing what so we can keep the work organized. But in terms of the updates to City Council, the updates out to the community, it was really focused on City Council's goals, which in our mind is, in a broad sense, why it is that we're doing all of this stuff. We did begin to inject the term objectives, and objectives are now a key focus of the 2017 work plan. We did take from City Council at the retreat in January of that year 10 priority things for us to work on, and we made sure to work into the 2015 work plan what we were doing with especially City Council's top 5 priorities, and actually we worked into it priorities 6 through 10 also. And in 2016, you can see it's getting awfully detailed, isn't it? We're getting more and more information into the work plan. We're trying to capture more and more of what we're doing on an annual basis, trying to set out at the beginning of the year a clear set of expectations of what we intend to accomplish, and then trying to measure our results better. So what is really different even more so about the 2017 work plan is this focus of the work plan around broad outcome areas. At City Council's retreat in January, you went through all 20 outcome areas and identified 6 that you wanted us to emphasize. There's work in the work plan around all of the outcome areas, but we're shifting our work to those outcome areas, and we're listing objectives below those outcome areas, and for the first time, we're starting to list strategies and tactics, which are a further breakdown of objectives into more bite-sized pieces and things that are more measurable. As I mentioned, Justin Bingham, after Troy walks through some of the highlights of the first quarter results, Justin, the city's IT director, is going to come up and walk through this new tool that we're going to be implementing over the next few months, so that when you see the second quarter update in August, it'll look very different. We think the information will be much more accessible to council and to the public, and we think it'll be more useful to us as well. Not only are we reporting results on the first quarter execution of the 2017 work plan, but as City Council knows, we've been talking to you, we've visited with you twice already to start to develop the 2018 work plan. So since City Council's retreat in January, we've been starting the development of the 2018 work plan, and it'll absolutely be hitched to the 2018 budget process. In years past, the work plan was really developed in large part after City Council adopted the budget in the fall. So this year, the big shift that we've made for the 2018 work plan is to develop that work plan now so that the budget that City Council approves this fall will provide the resources necessary to execute the 2018 work plan that staff and City Council will have agreed to as the most important work for us to be doing. This is a key step towards a term in public administration called performance-based budgeting. The idea is that every resource we expend has to be aimed at accomplishing the results that City Council has laid out for us. And if we can't connect the work that we're doing with the broader goals the City Council has set for staff and the community, we should be reevaluating why we're doing the work that we're doing. So we think it's a much clearer linkage between the work we do every day and the broad goals that City Council has laid out for the future of the Commerce City community. Another added feature for 2018, for the first time ever, we're starting to capture the various service level commitments that we make as a city government for the services that we provide to the Commerce City community. A lot of our resources are invested in providing daily service out to the community, and so in the 2018 work plan, we will be publishing for the first time to the community what are those service level commitments and how are we doing towards meeting them. There are always pressures throughout the year between the resources available and the service level commitments that we've made, so it'll help us have a much more structured, much more constructive dialogue about how do we adjust those levels of services based on the resources that we have to spend. So that's a broad update. Again, Troy's going to walk through some more details on the work plan. Before I turn it over to him, I did want to cover our budget performance through the first quarter. I'm certainly always very proud of how well staff performs towards executing the work plan, but doing it within the resources that are available to us through the budget that City Council adopted last fall. So although we're only through the first quarter, I think this indicates that we're in a strong position in terms of revenues and our expenditures, especially given the fact that our revenues tend to lag 1 to 2 months behind. So we're pretty much right on track with both revenue and expenditures. And if our revenue is lagging a little bit behind, that would suggest to me that our revenue is actually going to be a little bit ahead of where our expenses are currently. So even though we're still very early in the year, that's a very good position for us to be in. So with that, Troy, from here on out at the next quarter, he'll be starting to present the quarterly updates to you. Troy has responsibility within our organization of administering those quarterly updates, collecting the information with the help of Lisa Gallegos, making sure the information is accurate, pulling it all together so that we can report it out to City Council and out to the Commerce City community. So with that, I'll turn it over to Troy.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I have picked some highlights to go through tonight with respect to our work plan. Those are the blue shaded objectives. I'll be reporting to you results from the first quarter at the objective level. And with this manual process of doing these updates, that's the only place we have a performance measurement for you today. However, as you will see in the tool that we'll be showing, Justin will show you later, you'll actually be able to look in the future at an aggregated score at any level of the plan. So you'll be able to look at the City Council goal, and it will have a progress wheel associated with it where you'll be able to track progress at any level of the plan. But I, unfortunately, am not going to be able to do that for you this evening. As I go through the document or at the end of the selected objectives that I've picked to report out on tonight, if you have questions about ones that I did not cover, We certainly can stop and cover those, or you can ask them at the end and we'll come back to them. There wasn't any magic to how I selected the ones that I did. I just picked 2 or 3 objectives out of every outcome area for you. You'll notice on the spreadsheet, the note at the top right corner says that an action plan must be covered if the color indicated is yellow or red. And in this case, the action plan in this first one is not on the right. It's listed within the progress, but it is there. That is the action plan to get us back to green. As you all know, there is a very extensive action plan for each one of these objectives called strategies and tactics. But that box is specifically to indicate what we're going to do to address the situation and get it back to green. So without further ado, under balanced mix of land uses, we had on here the goal of adopting the neighborhood plan for Irondale neighborhood by December 31st. We are on track to do that. And as you'll see in the progress column, the RFP for the consultant to do that plan is gone out. Responses have been received, and the next steps are to interview the finalists and make a selection. Under the same outcome, increase in available commercial flex space by 4%. There was an increase of 9,390 square feet of commercial real estate. We're still marked in the green, but that's a little behind our 4% quarterly average. We'll keep our eye on that one as time goes on. Increase the total number, I'm changing outcome areas on you. 1.2, location of choice for primary employers. The objective was to increase the total number of businesses by 5% by 2018. And the first quarter, we're on track with a 5.6% increase from the previous year, and there are a list of new businesses listed there for you. Diverse mix of businesses, attract at least one sit-down restaurant. Mayor also mentioned that in his comments this evening. New restaurant openings in Q1, Dion's Pizza, Royal Nepal Restaurant, Popeyes, and Los Tamales. So again, we're ahead on that goal. We're on City Council goal number 2 now. The outcome, be an employer of choice. Maintain full-time employee vacancies under 11%. And in the first quarter, we were at 10.8%. I will tell you that with the robust economy, we continue to see turnover, and there actually are a few areas here where I will point out where turnover has impacted our performance in some areas as we go through the report. Reduce the number of accidents involving city-owned vehicles by 10%. I'm happy to report through the whole first quarter, we only had 1 city vehicle involved in an accident, which is a significant reduction over the year numbers for 16. Hopefully we can continue that great pace through the rest of the year. Under municipal legitimacy, achieve 100% compliance with marijuana and liquor license regulations at the time of issuance. And we are currently in the process of the clerk's office is working on 18 various license applications. They don't get issued, by the way, if they're not in compliance. So we'll achieve 100% compliance. Achieve 99% technology infrastructure availability. We're working hard to get that additional 0.1% out of Mr. Bingham, who you'll hear from in a minute. He's at 99.9% today. Implement information technology security program, and this is one of the things that Justin has really stepped up our organization in terms of our security. We have an outside consultant doing a comprehensive security audit at this point in time, and that is an ongoing program that will happen throughout the course of the year. The city holds all kinds of information, from credit card numbers to people that buy things at the golf course, to people's personal information, medical information through human resources. It is critically important that we maintain our IT infrastructure in a way that provides absolute security for all of that information. Establish a process to centralize all city IT procurements. That's been complete and in the first quarter. improve employee mobility and access to technology services by 10%. I don't have a percentage for you in the first quarter, but I can tell you we've made substantial gains in that arena based on our OneDrive applications. And we talked about this, in fact, at our last week's study session with respect to SharePoint coming online and other tools that will be available to you and to staff members to continue this work throughout the city. Financial compliance and stability, sustained audit collections of $3 million annually. And our audit collections at the end of the first quarter were $535,000, which is 18%, slightly behind the 25% of that amount of money that you would expect to see there. And I'll point out to you under the action plan area, the tax division is one of the places in our organization where we have experienced a lot of turnover. The private sector is pays very, very well, and it's a very competitive market for people with financial services backgrounds in this robust economy. And we have had a lot of turnover in our tax division, and we continue to work on a robust plan to keep us at full staff. Decreased delinquent tax filings by 25%. We had 740 delinquent accounts at the start of the year. We have decreased that by 236 accounts, and part of the turnover I just spoke of allowed us to restructure the finance department and tax division, and we now have a compliance officer who is working on these delinquent accounts diligently and is out working with the business community to resolve these issues. And we have collected so far $145,000 thereabouts in the first quarter, just as a result of this individual joining us towards the end of the first quarter. Council goal number 3, I am under outcome aesthetically pleasing neighborhoods free from noise and hazards. Objective about reducing or gaining 90% of voluntary compliance through this 3 C's program, and we achieved 98% voluntary compliance through 3 C's in the first quarter, and they did obtain inspection at 25% of all the residences in the community. Reduce tonnage of waste collected per household by 2% and increase recycling diversion rate by 17%. The tonnage collected data was not available at the time of the production of this report. However, the recycling diversion rate was 17.79%, so we exceeded our goal in that area for the first quarter. Conduct a minimum of 9 neighborhood CPTED assessments, and CPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. The department has increased its utilization of those most recently due to some training they've given to their staff, and they've done 6 of those already, so well ahead of the goal there. Still on City Council goal number 3, safe multimodal traffic network. Increase available pedestrian and bicycle transportation by 15 miles. In the first quarter, we did 1.9 miles of Highway 2 path, and we recently installed the trail along Chambers. So that is still on track to reach 15 by the end of the year. Maintain customer satisfaction with cleanliness and safety of facilities through compliance with regulations and standards. There was an incident, which is not that uncommon, where the pool had to be shut down overnight as a result of a Tri-County Health inspection. The issue was a faulty pH sensor. It was replaced, and there is a daily maintenance list associated with the pools that our staff is on top of. Construct a grade-separated interchange at 120th and Highway 85. We participated in CDOT selection panel for a design team to conduct the environmental and 30% design work for what is City Council's number 1 goal. Improve 5.8 lane miles of unimproved gravel roads by December 31st. No progress has been made on this effort at this juncture, and specifically you see in the action plan area that Public Works' target here was 112th Avenue east of Chambers Road, and they're beginning to work with the developers in that area with regard to paving that surface. Still on council goal number 3, and the outcome is high quality natural and built environment. Mowing the open space. The season's just getting ready to start, so we're still green. The mowing equipment's been serviced by fleet and it is ready to go. Plow and treat all priority 1 classified streets in all storm events to provide motorists timely and efficient snow and ice control. There were 6 storms in Q1. All cities' priority 1 streets were plowed and treated according to the established levels of service. And this objective that you see here in 2018 will be one of those service level commitments that Mr. McBroom referred to. Achieve a 98% compliance rate for building permits and land use cases. We achieved 100% compliance rate in the first quarter, and that was with 681 building permits and 31 approved land use cases. A sense of personal security, and this is council goal number 4. Holding 10 problem-solving meetings by December 31st. They've held 4 so far in the first quarter, so that's on track. Reduce Part 1 crimes in each geographic zone by 1%. You see that as marked red. The reason it is red is because the police department's data system is not set up to track crime rates by geographic policing zones. So they are unable to report out on this data at this point in time. They're working to try to get that data available through their crime analysts. It remains to be seen whether or not the system's capable of producing information in that way. So we may have to revise that objective to a more citywide basis in the future. Implement the Department of Justice recommendations by December 31 of 19. We're expected to get that report from the DOJ sometime in July and August of this year. However, the police department's already begun identifying the tasks that they believe will be identified in that report, and they are starting to advance work on those right now in order to be ready to talk to the DOJ about the things they've already done when the report's issued. Ensure a 95% victim advocate on-scene response for all Victim Right Act calls by the end of the year. That is marked yellow, and probably in reality it should be marked red. I point out to you that 95% is really not obtainable. There are a number of factors that do not make providing services on scene an appropriate time to do that. For example, if a victim is incapacitated, perhaps in surgery as a result of an injury, providing victim services there at the scene is not an appropriate response. And so adjusting that based on what we've learned to a different percentage, somewhere around 75% is probably the right goal to be set for the department. They're currently achieving about 68%, and the chief tells me that there's some room for improvement there that he is working on. We're almost done. City Council goal number 4, achieving a living healthy lifestyle for all residents. Build 6.25 miles of recreational trail by December 31st, 2017. Partially the design work along Highway 2 and the construction project there will take care of several of those lane miles, so we're still on track to do that. Decrease audit protests 10% by December 31. We've only had 4 protests filed in all of 2016, and so that's a tough target to reach so far. We're below the 2016 numbers. We had 2 protests we received in 2017. One of them wasn't necessarily about the audit. As you see, it was about the name that was assessed. So we are still ahead, but it's early in the year. Council goal number 5, accessible, reliable, and transparent information, increasing how city residents receive information through established communication channels by 2%. You can see there's lots of information there in the comment box. We're in the process of pushing out a new website that will be really public focused, and the content is there to address that and hopefully be more user friendly on mobile devices. We've created cards for the You Have Options campaign, and we're improving the seasonal recreation guide to better support the new recreation center. The RIM project, the Records Information Management Project, has been initiated, and you can see there to build out and enhance organizational collaboration processes by September 30th of 2017. And we've decided to tackle this by dividing up some responsibilities. The division managers across the city are working on this project to bring recommendations forth to the leadership team. And they really are doing the heavy lifting on this project and doing a good job assessing what's going on with our records at this juncture. Council goal number 5, participatory and inclusive community. Achieve a 90% availability rate for Spanish language city information materials by December 31 of 2017. We currently have 100% of Public Works and Parks, Recreation, and Golf materials created in Spanish, so that is quite an achievement. And we're currently at about 40% of the police department's materials and working to make improvements in that area. One of the issues, again, is associated with writing these goals is being able to collect the data in the way that reflects the objective that we have. And in this case, what we have determined is that we need to improve our ability to track publications by department to determine this availability rate. So we're also working on our data collection systems internally. And last but not least, offer 1,200 annual passports issued by the city clerk's office. We are way ahead on that goal. The clerk's office has done 747 passports in Q1 alone. That's more than 50% of their entire year goal. So that's a lot of work going on there to provide that service to the community. That is the conclusion of the selected objectives that I have for you this evening, and I would welcome any questions you might have relative to this report before I bring Mr. Bingham up to walk you through the software tool.
Thanks, Mr. Smith. It's nice to be able to get into the weeds as we did. I mean, I think the contrast of where we've been in terms of the tools that Mr. McBroom outlined and seeing how that takes us to where we are right now acts as a good springboard. I'm excited to see the tool, but it gives us a taste of what information is available for the community. I think the other thing that is exciting about seeing where this current manual version is in advance of the new tool is in thinking about the transition of council members, staff, et cetera, the ability to go somewhere and get your head around what's out there, right? I mean, I think for many of us when we first walked into city council, trying to get your head around what was going on was all but impossible, right? It was assimilating information organically over time. No two staff members had the same mental picture about where things were at, and therefore, when each of us tried to tell a story to one of our constituents about what's going on, the risk, very real risk, was that we were going to tell different stories, simply for the reason that we didn't all have the same basis from which to tell the story. And so this has been a personal passion of mine to see this evolve, and I think the work that you guys are doing is awesome. That the power of this tool, of this information rather, becomes incredibly powerful for us as a council, for staff. Obviously, the way that staff is organizing and managing themselves is important. Those efficiencies are obvious. For us, I'm excited to be able to readily, use this information and have conversations with constituents and not feel like it's tough to talk to a constituent and feel like you're doing your best to sell them on something as opposed to give them the straight skinny on something. And to have the clarity of that information, I think, is very important. And I know it's taken this council a lot of work over the years to surrender and sort of go into this process, but just in this version to start to see the red, yellow, green, I think is a good indication for folks of how easy it is, right? If we each trust and believe that the right things are in this document, right? We've all contributed to setting the goals and objectives. We've agreed on the tactics that are going to be used to get there. We don't have to read every line and every letter of every page of this every time it comes out. Part of this is a recognition of we all have limited time and mental capacity, but you can scan a document like this and use the red, yellow, green indicators to zero in on the things that are red or yellow, or a specific subsection that you have concern with. And so the ability to zero in on those things and read the commentary around those things that are at risk, and to see the comments from staff about what's being done to address it, that to me is a tool that we can then use in our conversations with Brian or other members of staff to say, hey, I see we're in red in such and such a section. It looks like you're doing X, Y, and Z. Have you thought about this? Or why aren't you doing that? It allows us to sort of shortcut those conversations. So when we're sitting down for coffee isn't about discovering all the stuff that's going on. It's about being able to zero in on those things, and that creates a more sophisticated organization. So I know that's a long comment to your information, but this is powerful stuff, and it's thank you for all the work. I know this is no small task that staff in general, and I know we'll hear it from Justin in a minute, to evolve to this point. So thank you.
All right, looks like more questions are coming. We'll go with Councilwoman Carson.
Thank you for the report. And I was looking online. It's not online, correct? The 2017 work plan?
It isn't online, I believe, this
Okay.
evening, but we do plan to post this work plan online.
Okay. And Jason, you put that in probably some terms that were very easy to take me back, is that we all had a different picture of what that meant. So thank you to the hard work that you all have put into this, because I think that's one of the things that makes us to where we can work so easy together, is we do see what the same picture is, instead of walking away and saying, well, I thought we had this figured out. But thank you. This is a lot of work, and I love leaving behind a legacy that helps future counselors come in and realize that there is a process, and it's not just a shot in the dark to try to figure it out. So thank you.
All righty, Mr. Douglas.
Yes, thank you, Troy, for the presentation. On council goal number 2.6, under financial compliance and stability, decreased delinquent tax filing by 25%. I'm interested to see what IT has, but if there could be a way we could do online tax filing, that probably would cut that a lot, because people give them the ability to make it easier to file their quarterly taxes, instead of hustling and remembering where the paperwork is that they were sent, to put the coupon in the mail, or even fax things over. So things can be done online. That would save our business owners some time. And then, I know this is work in progress, but just if you could add that. And then there 3.2, safe multimodal travel network. And I said this before, and maybe this could be 2019, at a bus route that goes from the northern area, even connecting through from Brighton down to the county building, and end up going down Tower to 61st Light Rail Station. I think that would be something in the foreseeable future, instead of a light rail in 2034. So,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate those suggestions. We'll jot those down and look at them for 18.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Troy.
Okay, I'm going to bring Justin up to demonstrate the tool for you. I do want to point out, as he's coming up here, the project manager for the implementation of this software you're about to see is Lisa Gallegos, and she's not here tonight. But importantly, she's the person leading the implementation of this project, and she has done a tremendous amount of this work to keep this plan updated and moving along and coordinating the communication between all the departments for all of these updates. it wouldn't get done without her. So I just wanted to let you know, in recognition of the hard work that she's done on this work plan, we have asked her to lead this project, and Justin is the technical advisor for the implementation of this project, but Lisa's actually the project manager. So a pretty neat structure I think we built around what you're about to see.
Thank you.
PowerPoint back, Justin.
All right, good evening, Mayor and City Council. So I'm going to walk you through the new work plan tracking and reporting tool. And what I'm going to show you this evening, I'll start with a little bit of background information. I'll let you know kind of what we were looking for in a tool, and then I'll actually show you what the tool is going to look like. So I'll give you kind of a sneak preview. So a little bit of background information. As we've heard this evening, great progress has been made on the organizational work plan, right? You saw the evolution from 2012 to now. Lots more detail. Now we have the 5 levels of the plan. And while that's been great progress, the technology to report that and track that has not evolved. So we knew we need to make a change. So we need to have a new technology tool. So we had 5 main goals in mind when we looked for a new technology tool. We wanted a centralized platform. So we wanted something that we could centralize everything, track it throughout the city, and we also wanted to look at something that was easy for city staff to use and provide their progress updates. We also wanted citywide visibility. So we wanted a system that we could report and provide progress at any level of the plan to city staff, right? I think it's important that all city staff can see that connection between the work they're doing and how that supports your city council goals. So we wanted a system that could support that. A council dashboard. So we wanted to have a system that we could provide a dashboard that you on city council could actually drill into any level of that plan on your own time if you wanted to. We also wanted a tool that had robust reporting capabilities. So we wanted to be able to run reports at any level of the plan. And then lastly, we wanted to have a public dashboard. So really working on that public transparency, we want a dashboard that could integrate with our website so that the public could actually look at progress on levels of the plan. So that was the 5 main goals we set out for. I also want to point out that this project and this tool actually supports existing items in the work plan, specifically City Council Goal number 5, as well as Outcome 5.1 for accessible, reliable, and transparent information. So what I'm going to show you this evening is actually 3 views of the software tool. So I'm going to show you a City Council view. So every member of City Council will have a login. You'll be able to log in and drill into any level of the plan on your own time, all the way down to strategies and tactics. You'll be able to view that as well. So I'll show you that view. Then I'll show you the public dashboard and what that's going to look like. And then lastly, I'll show you the department view, so what city staff will see when they log in. So starting with the City Council view, this is an example that I have up right now. You'll have the ability to run reports within the system. This is a City Council goal report. So you'll be able to run a report, export to PDFs. You'll also be able to send it to your email, where you will be able to get a report on City Council goals. And I think to best illustrate this, I'll actually pull up what the PDF will look like. So if you were to run this report in the system, you would get a report, a PDF similar to this. There'll be some summary we'll put in there. And then you'll start to see all your city council goals. And you'll have 2 things here. And this will be throughout this entire tool. You'll see you'll see a status wheel and a progress wheel throughout this entire tool at every level. I think Troy mentioned it earlier. Updates roll up the plan. And what I mean by that is when city staff actually provides updates on strategies and tactics or objectives or outcomes, their updates or status updates or progress updates roll all the way up the plan. So once they provide those updates, that will affect your status or progress all the way up to city council goals. So that's really nice automation for us to be able, for you to be able to see at a glance real-time status of progress and status towards city council goals. Now you'll notice there are 2 wheels. Status and progress are 2 different measurements within the system. So status is actually when city staff goes in, they're assigned a strategy, a tactic, an objective. They will be able to say, is it on track? Is there a slight disruption or a major disruption? And like I said, that rolls all the way up the plan. That's what defines the status. Progress is a little bit different. So progress, when staff is assigned an item in the plan, there will be a due date associated with that item, right? So do they complete it on time? Is it overdue? That will reflect in that progress bar. So you'll see those two items throughout this entire demonstration. And then also when you run the reports, you'll be able to provide more detail. You'll actually be able to see detail all the way down. If you want this all in a report, you'll be able to see all the way down to the strategy and tactic level. So all the progress updates, any metrics or measures that's associated with those, any level of the plan, that will also be in the report. If you don't want to see that much detail, you can customize this report. The next thing I want to show you is when you log into this system, you will actually see there'll be a default dashboard. Your dashboard will first display city council goals. So you'll see the 5 city council goals, and you will see those 2 progress bars I mentioned, right? You'll see the progress and you'll see the status bars. Now, you will be able to drill in deeper in this plan. So if you want to go past city council goals, you could also see objectives, outcomes, and as I mentioned earlier, there's a status and a progress associated with each of those as well. And then as we define measures and metrics in the system, you will also be able to see that as well through your council dashboard. This is a web-based platform, and it works well on your iPad, so they make it so it's really responsive. It displays really nice on your iPad, so you will be able to use it on that as well. We also have a public dashboard and a public view, and what we're working towards right now is actually integrating that into the city website. So how this is going to work is the public will actually see the top 3 levels of the plan. So city council goals, outcomes, and objectives will be available. And any measures or metrics associated, they will see that as well. And then lastly, this is actually the department view. So this is what city staff will see. So the way we're going to set up the system and we're working towards right now is that when city staff log in, if they're assigned any part of the work plan at any level, they will see that on their dashboard when they first log in. They will also get email notifications and reminders so many days before they need to provide an update on something within the plan. And they'll be able to go in here. I mentioned earlier we really wanted a system that was easy for staff to provide these progress updates. And this next slide kind of shows you what that looks like. So they'll see this dashboard with everything that's assigned to them. They'll be able to provide a progress update and the narrative in here pretty easily. Submit it. Once it's submitted, it actually is going to be real time for you. So once staff puts those updates on, it will reflect in your council dashboard. Currently, what we're at with the project right now is we're working with the vendor. Right now, they're importing our plan, and then they're going to provide training to all city staff that's going to have to provide progress updates. We're targeting the end of May to have that complete. And then in June, city staff is going to start providing updates within the tool. So that's what I wanted to show you this evening. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this new tool.
Thanks, Justin. Let me see here. Mr. Douglas?
That was before, but I do have a question. I'm going to wait, though.
Okay. Go ahead. All right, Mr. McEldown.
Thanks, Mr. Bingham. Again, exciting stuff, especially to see now the evolution from the manual tool. I think it's neat to see or give us all a sense of how an individual staff member can, on the fly, create an update and how that trickles through the system. I just wanted to make sure if we can go back to slide, I guess it would be 16, the council view of our goals dashboard. And just kind of to tie this back to the comments when Troy was giving his update in terms of the red, yellow, green, the proportion of each, right, tells us how off or how on any given project is. So I wanted to make sure folks kind of connected that. When you look at those wheels in the first column, for example, that first one, right, it's roughly 25% of that is green, 75% of that is yellow. So the majority of that, so that project by and large is lagging, right? And then in terms of that sort of red, yellow, green we talked about earlier, if you look at the next one down, you can see the red jumps out. So there's something going on. So in this example, we could drill in and start to see within that item what is red to the equivalent of what we saw in Troy's update. So in Troy's deck, right, the highest level category, right, goal 1 would have shown as green or red or yellow in the way that it was depicted in his document. We now get to see visually the mix of all the factors.
How much red?
Right, how red, how yellow, how green. And then in Troy's, we had to read through line by line and see which of those cells showed red. This way, we could drill in and similarly, I'm assuming, get in and see what that red piece is. And then the piece that Justin just showed us in terms of where staff updates, that would be that input from Public Works or Parks and Rec on what's going on with that thing. So it's real time, right? I mean, that's the cool thing, I think, is we'll be in the mix as staff is managing that activity. And I think it gives us, again, a visual for us to be more confident in terms of seeing what's going on, right? And how many of us have asked for an update on something and we don't know anything about it until a city manager update a week or 2 or 3 later? And this is a sort of a real-time example of that. So thank you for that. I guess the one question I have in terms of the public view, which I'm thrilled about, and I know Michelle and Troy will remember my comments on, I always use Vancouver as the example of that sort of visible red, yellow, green. And mind you, when I first stumbled upon Vancouver, it was the equivalent of some of the pictures that Brian showed and what we were doing, right? It was essentially a spreadsheet online on screen that showed an entire block of text in red, yellow, or green. Obviously, they've gotten more sophisticated. This is more sophisticated, and so that's exciting. When we think about the public and giving them visibility to these things, certain people are going to care more about some things than others. And if we think about social media and the tools that people are used to using today, they can follow something, right? Is there an ability within the public view, if I'm concerned about a specific project, right, a specific piece of an outcome, can people sort of follow that or get notified on what's going on with that? Or is that maybe something that's limited to an internal user or a council member? I think about, maybe JD's concerned about, or Renee's concerned about Channel 8, right? I'm going to pick on Renee, right? Renee's concerned about Channel 8. I saw in Troy's update earlier, there's an item in there for Channel 8. It was yellow. So Renee, is there an ability for Renee to subscribe to Channel 8, to that item, right? And so as things are updated, can he get noticed? Does that make sense?
It does. So at this time, I'm not aware of an option for they can subscribe to that, but I will check on that.
That's great.
All right.
Again, exciting. I think when I look at the goals that you guys outlined for identifying and selecting this piece of software, I think you guys nailed it, right? It's the right thing.
Well, yeah. Just let him finish, and then I'll come to you. Otherwise, this is going to go all night. And it's okay. You just wait. I'll call on you. Push your button there.
I'm going to stop talking.
No, you're all right. Go ahead. I just want to make sure nobody's jumping in.
I think you've nailed it. And without being able to touch it yet, I mean, seeing it in 2 dimensions is one thing, but it seems like a really robust tool. I'll be eager to hear from Brian and the senior staff over time what impacts this has on the efficiencies within the organization, right? Because, and I think, Justin, I think you touched on a comment that I've been a big believer of, right? I used to curse my director years ago because every Friday we had to sit down and write 3 to 5 headlines, right? They were sort of paragraph long, little bullet point about what, our key stuff was. And we produced that and we published it to our peers in our organization, and she would share it with her next sort of set of peers. But this was sort of before we had the web and social media and Web 2.0 and all that kind of thing, but it was good old-fashioned email chains that we would exchange, and you knew what your peers were working on, and you might be working on the same project as somebody else, but you're coming at it from a different role, and being able to see their view of an update versus your view of an update was incredibly powerful, right? To see, as you said, how your activity ties all the way into the highest goals of the organization. I personally believe that's very powerful as somebody in a staff position to be able to see exactly what my tasks or projects, how they tie into the overall picture. So I'll be eager to see over time how staff, I know it's change, and change is not always easy, and doing things in tools when you haven't been doing it in tools is not always easy. But it'll be interesting to hear over time, and I'd like to make sure staff kind of gives us that sort of pulse on things. What is staff saying? Once we get into the break-in period, I'll be interested in hearing how the efficiencies are being realized, or if staff is finding a way to advocate for, becoming an advocate for it. So, anyway.
Mr. Mayor, if I could follow up on a couple of things Mr. McEldowney said. One is he used the term real time. We use the term real time. It won't actually be real time. We will update the information every 30 days.
In batch.
Right. So we'll pull data, publish it every 30 days. So certainly much better than what we have now, but not quite real time.
Virtually real time.
Virtually real time. The other point I wanted to make to emphasize something Jason said is how are we using it? The goal all the way along with these work plans was not just to do this for your benefit. We know that's important. It's important to share with the community what we're doing with their tax dollars. But it was always intended to be a tool for us to manage ourselves and drive results, properly identify priority work, make commitments, and get that work done. And this is just another step in that direction. A lot of these tools are for our own internal use to make sure we're managing ourselves effectively, getting things done in a timely fashion. And it's just a bonus that we can do it in a very transparent way, which is the best way to earn and uphold the public's trust. So without a doubt, it's intended to do both things, be transparent, but also truly use it as an internal management tool. This is, in some ways, some new stuff for us, the way in which we're managing or measuring the work that we're doing. We're doing it in ways we haven't done it before, and that does create some anxiety for all of us, and we're still sort of getting used to how we measure ourselves.
Thanks.
Can I add one thing, Mr. Mayor, as well?
Sure.
So to Brian's point, the public dashboard is going to be a delay, right? So the dashboard that you log into, that will be real time.
Okay.
But actually the public dashboard, that's a process we need to manually schedule. And to Brian's point, I think we're going to do that potentially every 30 days.
Thanks. I was wondering if there was, I assumed, sort of without saying, that when a staff member creates an update, that's by and large not going to go live, right? Somebody's going to vet that or see that that's gone, that update's been made, and sort of bless it for public consumption. So I kind of assumed that, but thanks for the clarification on us versus the public view.
All right. We're moving on to Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Justin, for your presentation on this. Yeah, I'm intrigued on how this is all going to work out. Been to several different places when we visit, and the big one was down in San Antonio. Got to visit IBM and the analytics that showed the tracking of the police department when they put in the information based on what was happening as trying to find someone who's breaking into homes. And this right here would track that, and they ended up finding this person through that process of real-time dashboard, end up keeping as far as information. So with this public side, as far as communication and their dashboard, just say, for instance, the Pinion ramp. So if someone was trying to find out where that process is, that this right here, from what I understand, would show them that we're right now waiting for the record of decision, and then what the next steps are. And so basically it would be yellow and maybe a red, and then just to give a little history on where we're at with those projects. Is that kind of sums it up?
It does sum it up. Just to reiterate what I said earlier, the top 3 levels of the plan will be available on the public dashboard. So if we're talking a strategy and a tactic, that would not be visible necessarily on the public dashboard. It would really only be council goals, outcomes, and objectives.
Oh, okay.
But yes, it would. The top 3 levels would be displayed.
I see. Okay. The other thing, too, on the public side, if we could have something that shows like our current debt structure, say, for instance, the bonds the city had purchased for infrastructure, when those were purchased and when they're going to mature, and that would show our current debt structure. That would be nice for our residents to see exactly where the city sits financially. And the other one would show debt service coverage, exactly what our net revenue is, our senior debt services, and our debt service coverage. I mean, just to put it out there for residents, just to show exactly how our city is functioning on the financial side.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to follow up on that, we are preparing to publish some financial data onto the website as part of a routine website update. But it is not part of our objectives within the work plan. But much of the data you just requested would be contained within the financial report that would be available online.
All right. Thank you.
And if I could make one other point, Mr. Douglas was talking about the status of a capital improvement project. The work plan as it's currently structured would not allow the public to drill down to that level of detail, but we don't intend for the work plan to take the place of communicating progress on key capital projects. So the way that we're communicating progress now, we've got the separate website set up for the 2K projects. I would envision we would still communicate progress on capital projects in that manner so that the public wouldn't need to rely on the work plan to find out the status of, in your case, your example, the Pena ramp. We'll still maintain that information in a more public way.
All right. Thank you.
All righty, Mr. Amador.
Thank you. Short of getting into paralysis by analysis, this is a good baseline for all of our objectives. I think it clearly shows the 5 goals and the umbrella or the waterfall of multiple items underneath that. So this is a good baseline. I think the city manager did answer some of the questions in my mind about how we were managing this, garbage in, garbage out. Right, what's the frequency? What are we looking like? How do we get that done? At least for me, when I started council, it was vague to see our goals and where we were at, and I think other council members kind of hit that on the head. Well, if you ask one person that was this, if you asked another person that was that, this is very measurable at this point, and we can see it. So I'll leave my comments there, and we'll let this thing go down the river.
Councilman Carson.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. McBroom already answered my questions. Thank you.
I'm glad. All righty. Looks like we're making headway. Appreciate all the hard work and the update. Now we'll go to administrative council business. Does council have any administrative council business? Seeing none. Do you have any administrative council business, Mr. McBroom? No, sir. Nope. All right. Moving on to reports. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did distribute via email a little bit earlier this afternoon today, this week's edition of the city manager update. We do have an update on Mr. McEldowney's request to explore the cost of extending the eastbound left turn lane on 96th Avenue at Chambers. And actually, with Mr. McEldowney's indulgence, we talked at last week's study session about developing more of a process to bring information back to you that would have an impact on the budget. I don't know if we mentioned this last week, but the Finance Department is working on a form to help us put some structure around that, kind of similar to the travel request form that we use to help council make decisions on council member travel. So what we'll do, we'll take this as a case study, plug it into that process, and bring that back to you. We also have an update on Councilman Amador's request to do some traffic enforcement on Old Quebec Street near Hanson Elementary. And we have quite a bit of information on the telephone town hall results. So certainly reach out if you have any questions about any of those items. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, City Attorney.
I have nothing to report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we'll get into my report. Start off with Rotary. We had staff there, and me and the mayor helped to lay out progress on all of our infrastructure that's going in. Was a good presentation, and thank you to Michelle Halstead and Troy Smith for being there and helping us through all of the pertinent information. Telephone town hall went well. Again, it was something new, being that we had chief of police, some members of code enforcement playing a role. Next time we'll get them on the phones That's for you, Chief, back there. You can smile. District 14er Fest. We had the foundation, District 14 Foundation, had their big 14er Fest dinner. That went well. A lot of scholarships were handed out. Area boards meeting went well. Myself and Rick were there. Again, Rotary. And I went out of town for a few days. I know Rick covered NADA. And I want to thank Renee Bullock, the Mayor Pro Tem, for covering for me. And Jason McEldowney, because Renee went out of town too. There are a few events coming up that I wanted to highlight. Rotary Cow Pie Bingo, May 6th at noon at the Maybes. And I have one ticket left with me tonight, if anybody's interested. It's $25. You win a chance for $6,250. I have one ticket left. And we're turning in all of our money for our tickets on Wednesday. And should be a good event for Rotary to raise some money for scholarships, the SHOOT program, and for mental health. Also on that same day, May 6th, is the pancake breakfast over at the Rec Center, 7 a.m. And then the very next day, on the 7th, is the Gene Klein Annual Angel Award Luncheon. So that will be held at the Yellow Rose this time, is that right?
Yes, sir.
That'll be at the Yellow Rose. So I know that's on our calendars for those of you who have signed up. But those are the events that are coming up, and we'll keep pushing Cow Pie Bingo tickets. You won't have to hear me say that anymore after this Saturday when we have the event. And should be a lot of fun. Standing around waiting for a cow to make a deposit. Highlight of my week. So that covers my reports. If someone has something they'd like to add, Mr. Bullock.
I just want to mention that last weekend I was in Colorado Springs for the Rotary District Convention, and it was a very good convention down there. And our Interact Club from Adams City High School was the #1 Interact Club in our district. And then we received an award for it, Rhonda Hathaway and myself. But Rhonda is in charge of Interact, and she's our incoming president. And she received the award for our Interact Club at Adams City High School. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Mr. Douglas.
Yes. Earlier, we had the CDBG project discussion, and I know there was one last week. I did attend that, and Cheryl Steinberg says we have till this Friday if you guys want to add or change anything as far as what you would like to see with this program. I can pass down a summary of information. Here's a project sheet and her business cards. If you don't receive one of these paperwork, so there's only a limited amount. On Cheryl's card there, you can email her and she can send you a copy, PDF, if you want to fill that out as far as what you would like to see under the program, other than what we always was already discussed. What's also on this sheet right here too. So the other thing too, had mentioned to Brian last week, is driving down Tower Road, and I saw the banner signs and how they were hanging, and they were facing, I believe, the wrong way. And so he looked into it, and they're going to change those. So they're perpendicular with the road. So as you travel down Tower Road, you'll be able to see the banner signs instead of having to turn your head. Those little small things like that. I thought that was interesting how they were displayed to begin with. And then also I'd asked about, and I'm sure we're going to get a report later on about the squiggly sidewalks down Tower and how those are going to interline with that project on Tower. So, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. We're going to Renee Bullock for one last thing.
I forgot that last Thursday we had the annual Adams County Mayor and Commissioners Youth Award Dinner, and 4 of our youth from Commerce City were award recipients. 3 of them were sisters, and then the other one. So we were well represented by our award winners. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, I just wanted to add that I also attended the Boys and Girls Gala on Friday night. It was well attended and was a great event, so thank you.
Great. All right.
From Suncor. Ended up getting was the spotlight of the show. And
Great.
thank you, Andrew Amador, for attending as well.
Awesome. All righty.
Go Rams.
Now, easy. You're pushing his buttons. If there be no further... Paula?
I just have something. Just wanted to wish Allison Sheasley the best of luck as her due date is coming up in 3 days. Yes. And so we will miss our city attorney, Robert, for however long that you were gone. But enjoy your new role. We'll see you when you get back.
Matter of fact, you know you won't see us next Monday. Matter of fact, when I saw him today, I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Oh, it's all right. She's been in labor. She's still at the hospital. I just figured I better come down and get away from all the..." And I said, "No, not a good answer." But we do wish you and your wife all the best. This big change in your life.
Big change.
Big change. All right, now I'm going to try this one more time. If there be no further business to come before this city council this evening, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming. What?